Green Day is a band that's been around my whole life. I've known about their music since I was a little kid, though it wasn't until recently when I decided to listen to their whole discography and purchase all their albums. So while I am kind of a recent Green Day fan, I would still go as far to say they're one of my favorite bands of all time. And to be perfectly honest, I needed to get into another band recently. I spent like 3 years straight just listening to System of a Down. Now, I wouldn't call myself the best music critic ever, but I am pretty forgiving whenever a band I love releases a bad record. Which is why I'm here to talk about Green Day's latest outing, Father of All Motherfuckers, which at the time of this video was released just 7 months ago. When I initially decided to sit down and listen to the entirety of Green Day's career, I was a bit paranoid that I would reach a certain album that was really good, then their albums would end up hitting this steep decline that so many Green Day fans claim they hit at some point. But to be perfectly honest, I don't think I really discovered that. The first 2 records were really solid, Dookie's a fantastic album, Insomniac is pretty good, Nimrod is great, Warning is excellent, American Idiot is my favorite album by the band, 21st Century Breakdown was a pleasant surprise, the trilogy Uno Dos Tres was not some of their best albums, but also not some of their worst. And Revolution Radio I thought was actually kind of underrated. I really enjoyed that one. The trilogy definitely had its own personality, but I feel like Revolution Radio took it back to the American Idiot 21st Century type of style that Green Day was going for. It was a pretty nice return to form. So if you couldn't figure it out so far, I personally enjoyed every single one of Green Day's records. Some are way better than others, but at their worst I'd say that they're still okay albums. And then we get to this one, Father of All Motherfuckers. This is the first Green Day album where I would say I just feel pretty mixed about. Father of All promised to go back to Green Day's pure, uncut rock days. At least that's what this boomerific ad said it would be like. Who made this billboard? Please tell me it wasn't Billy. Okay, I think I should just dive right into talking about the album. First things first, the album art. I know it's a bit weird for me to focus on the album art first, but I personally feel the packaging of the product you're about to buy should reflect its quality, and, this is hideous. If you couldn't tell just by looking at it, they basically took the American Idiot cover art and heavily vandalized it. Like I said earlier, American Idiot is my favorite album, so it's a bit weird that Father of All decided to just reuse that album's cover art, slightly alter it, and just again vandalize it. I mean, it's just a bit weird. Now, there is an uncensored version of this cover art on special versions of the album, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think it looks any better. I'll even say the censored version of this album art actually makes it have a bit more of its own personality. Still, the unicorn is just a weird inclusion. Apparently the unicorn's name is Horny. I'm being serious. I mean, I don't hate the unicorn, but in terms of the other Green Day characters like the Kerplunk Girl and Drunk Bunny, I don't think Horny the Unicorn is anywhere near as interesting. He does look cute, and I think his name is pretty funny, but that's about it. Okay, so here's the first couple of issues I have with this album. The track list only has 10 songs, and most of these songs are insanely short. Only about 3 songs on the album go over 3 minutes. As a result, the record ends up being just 26 minutes in length. It's probably the shortest Green Day album. But according to Billy Joe, initially 16 songs were recorded for the album, but they had a tough time stitching the songs all together, so they had to cut out a few songs, which ended up leaving them with just 10. A bit strange. There's 3 main problems I have with the entirety of this album. First up, I think Billy Joe has one of the greatest singing voices of all time. His singing voice is somewhat of an inspiration for me to get into singing myself. But when it comes to his vocals on this album specifically, there's just a lot of weird voice filters applied to it. He's singing at a higher pitch than usual, and it's not like he's never sang like this in a song before, but he's never done a voice like this for the whole album. A second main issue I have with this album is the drum sound. The drums just sound bad. Now, I'm not saying it's Saint Anger levels of bad, but they're just bad in a sense that they sound very fake. What I mean is that they're applying a lot of just heavy synth drum sound effects over Trey's real drumming. Sometimes it feels like the drum tracks that Trey recorded aren't even heard on the album at all, mainly because of the direction they went for with this album, which leads to my third big issue with this album. It sounds more like dance music. punk is something that Green Day is obviously known for, and pop punk is another genre that they're very associated with, but with this album, it feels like it's more pop than punk. I've seen some people online describe this album's sound as like the type of shitty rock music you hear in these crappy commercials. You might know what they're talking about. And that's a big issue with this album because if we go back to that cringy Billboard, no features, no Swedish songwriters, no trap beats, 100% pure uncut rock. Okay, the middle 2 points I don't really understand, but I'm mainly focusing on the one we see at the very bottom, 100% pure uncut rock. Which leads to the biggest question I have about this album. Where's the 100% pure uncut rock? Billy did describe the album to be a bit more glam rock, and that it feels somewhere between Prince and MC5, so I'm not sure if he had anything to do with this Billboard, but for other Green Day fans who are probably just looking for a good rock album, I don't think Father of All really delivers that. Okay, this is where I should probably start talking about the individual tracks on the album. Track 1 on the album is the title track, Father of All, which also had a music video with it. Father of All is a good opening track in the sense that it describes perfectly what the sound of this album is going to be like. Whether or not you like the sound is completely up to preference. For me, I think the song's okay. I don't think it's one of Green Day's best songs though. Yeah. You hear that weird voice that Billy's doing while singing this song? Well, he does that for almost every song on the album. Father of All is just, it's okay. It is a catchy song, but it just falls flat in a lot of areas. It's way too poppy. But again, I just don't like how synthy and fake the drums sound. They're also being drowned out with these weird clapping sound effects, which leads me to maybe think Billy was writing this whole album to be a dance album. That's totally fine, but that's not really what I go to Green Day for. I feel like if they stuck with their punk roots, this song probably could have worked out a bit better. It is also a really short song. It's also the one song from the album I think they've played live the most. And to be perfectly honest, I think it sounds way better live, mainly because the drums don't sound like shit. And also, while Billy does sing on point with how he sang it on the album, there is one performance I want to point out is when he sang Father of All in a more closer tone to how he sang in the previous albums. It was a concert they did at the iHeartRadio Theater for the album's release. This was also their last big concert of 2020 because this concert happened literally right before COVID got worse. But just listen to how Billy was singing the song at this concert. See? Doesn't it sound a little better there? It kinda adds more to my point that I feel like Billy shouldn't have recorded his vocals this way. Again, this song would just sound way better if it was more punk. I don't have much else to say about this track, so I'm gonna move on. This leads us to track 2, Fire Ready Aim. Kind of a weird title. And there's nothing here. Just nothing. I don't know, this song just didn't really hit me anywhere. It's just more of the issue that I don't like the way Billy's vocals sound, and the clapping sound effects drown out the drums really badly. If anything, this is the shortest song on the album. Or more, it's one of the shortest songs on the album. It just beats Sugar Youth by being 1 second shorter, but I'll get to that other song later. For now though, Fire Ready Aim is I'll let you guys decide. This leads us to track 3, Oh Yeah, and the drums sound the absolute worst here. This is by far the most poppy song on the album. not that Green Day can't do pop well. Again, pop punk is something they're known for, but when it comes to this song, it's too pop. There's little to no punk anywhere. I do like the "oh yeah" hook, but it's just not Green Day, which just makes me want to highlight that billboard again to say, where's the pure uncut rock we were promised? This song also had a music video to go along with it. The video is okay. It looks like they were having fun while making it. Compared to some of my favorite Green Day videos, this isn't really one of my favorites. I do find it a bit ironic that it starts with Trey Cole saying he's gonna teach the audience how to play "Oh Yeah" on drums, when you could barely hear his own drumming on the song itself. And I did kinda like the bit where the bassist Mike Dirns is playing a security guard, and he has to act surprised whenever he sees Billy Joe on his phone. That part's kinda funny. Still though, "Oh Yeah" is fine, it has a nice hook, but it's not a song I'm gonna go back to listen to ever again. This leads us to track 4, Meet Me on the Roof. Oh my god, this song sucks. Okay, it's not bad. It's just forgettable. Like, there's no hook, there's no memorable, like, guitar riffs, the drums don't sound good. I didn't like this song. It's easily the most forgettable song on the album. And what's kind of weird is that it's one of the songs on the album that has its own music video. I guess they were proud of this one. The video's kind of okay. I mean, it features Dustin from Stranger Things in it. It's got that going for it. I liked seeing him. Still, the song itself, I didn't like this one, okay? I'm moving on. I'm hanging with the Joes, cruising down the strip, sleeping with a pillow, waking up and spin. Okay, I'm halfway done with this album. We're at track number 5, which is I Was a Teenager. And I'll actually admit, I kind of like this song. I'm still not the biggest fan of Billy's vocals, and the drums do still kind of sound like they have that weird filter over them, but this is actually the first song on the album where I'd say the drums sound pretty okay. I also really like the bass in this song. The sound mixing on this album isn't too amazing, but whenever you do hear Mike's bass in a song, it sounds great. Yeah, I'll be honest, I kind of like this song. It could use a bit less of the weird filters they're applying to every other song, but I'd probably say this is the best song on the album. It's also the longest song on the album, being 3 minutes and 45 seconds. A bit sad that this is one of the only songs to reach that length, but still, if I had to recommend one of the songs on this album, this would probably be one of them. Check it out. I was a teenager, full of piss and vinegar, living like a prisoner for haters. Now we're at track 6, Stab You in the Heart, and I kinda like this one too. It has, for the first time on this album, some really awesome guitar riffs, and the drums sound the absolute best on this track. I wanna stab you in the heart. I wanna stab you in the heart. Right in the bloody, bloody heart. For heaven's sake, you're just a flake, and you know it ain't right. Finally, there's that pure uncut rock this album was promising. If I did have any flaws with this song, it is a bit too short, but that's an issue with almost every song on this album. While I would say I Was a Teenager was the best song on the album, Stab You in the Heart is probably my personal favorite song on the album. I just love the guitar riffs, and if there's any track on this album I go back to, it's definitely this one. I really love it. And to make it even better, well, this next song also comes with good and bad news. Track 7 is Sugar Youth. Good news, I like this song, just like the last two tracks. bad news. This is also the last song on the album I genuinely like. Sugar Youth is just another good song. I like the guitar, I like the bass, I think the drums sound okay. I also just like the name. My biggest flaw with this song is it's way too short. I think if Green Day played this song live, they would probably extend it, and that would make me really happy. Kinda like what they did with songs like Letter Bomb, Stay the Night, and Stop When the Red Lights Flash when they play these songs live. Also, the lyric in this song, "and it's dangerous," reminds me of the one song off American Idiot, "She's a Rebel." You know, the one part of the song where it goes, "and she's dangerous."
She's a rebel, she's a saint, she's the salt of the earth, and she's dangerous.
I don't know, it's just, that's what the lyric reminds me of. Billy's even delivering the lyrics in almost the exact same way. Not sure if this was an intentional callback or not, but I like it. Check it out.
I'm hearing voices up inside my head. I need a sugar fix, it's making me sick. I wanna drink all the poison in the water. I wanna choke like a dog that's on a collar. I am a child of Coyote and Medieval. I'm drinking whiskey by the river too.
Unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, Sugar Youth is the last song on the album I actually liked. I find it a bit strange that the 3 songs I actually liked on this album are side by side with each other. Wow. Anyways, moving on to track 8, Junkies On A High. And we're back to the album sounding forgettable. I don't like this song too much. Being honest, it's probably my least favorite song on the album. It's just boring. Not a whole lot else to say about this one. It's also one of the only songs on the album that's 3 minutes long. I don't know, I just didn't enjoy listening to it.
Oh yeah, junkies on a high. Get back, lay down, go low.
Okay, track 9, Take the Money and Crawl. It's okay, a bit weird. I don't know, it's better than Junkies On A High, but I also didn't like this one too much either. It's a bit of a weird song. The one lyric where Billy says to suck his cock made me laugh when I first heard this song. But apart from that, it's just not terrible or anything like that. If anything, it's thankfully short. Yeah, not much else to say. Check it out, I guess. Eh.
Do what they say, please, right on my knees. Take the money and crawl. So you can take a walk or you can suck my cock. Take the money and crawl.
And so we have reached the last song on the album, the 10th and last track, Graffitia. Okay, this song I think is a good closer, but I don't really like it too much. I will say I love the bass line at the start of the song, but after that it just sort of falls flat. I do like the lyrics and everything, it could have sounded like a great Green Day song, but the issue with the way they went about it is just the main issue I have with the album in general. It's too poppy, Billy's vocals sound really weird, the drums just sound bad, it's got those irritating clapping sound effects, and just other pointless effects they added to the song. I just really don't like the way it sounds.
Are we the last forgotten? Are we the long lost love? Are we the last forgotten? Are we the long lost love?
Another thing that just bugs me about the way this song sounds is it could have sounded better if they just recorded it in a different way. Now there's 2 different ways they could have done it. One, they could have taken out all the pop and clapping sound effects, let it sound like a normal punky Green Day song, to the likes of what Dookie or even American Idiot was doing. Or, they go in a completely different direction with this song. In case you're somehow really unaware of things, Green Day's last live concert was in February 2020, and it was to celebrate the release of the Father of All album. A bit after that concert happened, the whole COVID pandemic got worse, and concerts had to be cancelled for the time being. However, back in March, Billy did a little concert for the iHeartRadio living room, where he basically recorded him singing Boulevard of Broken Dreams and Graffitia on acoustic, right at the comfort of his own house, I think. But him performing Graffitia for iHeartRadio was actually the first time the song was played live. Now, I played you a clip of how Graffitia sounded on the album, but the way Billy played it for this little private concert, I actually really loved the way it sounded, and I did kind of find it funny when Billy forgot his own lyrics to the song before he started playing it.
Forgot the fucking lyrics. Another one down at the mine in town. Boom. Breaking it down for a lame wager on the shot. Oh.
That was pretty humorous. But anyways, listen to the way he plays the song. It's actually really interesting.
Younger black kid was shot in town. Man with a badge and a daytime show. Darkness falls on graffiti. Get the town in the afterglow. Are we the last forgotten? Are we the long lost love? Are we the last forgotten? Are we the long lost love?
Wow, I really like the way it sounds here with Billy just playing on his acoustic guitar. Yeah, I feel like if they just recorded Graffitia again, but with just Billy playing acoustic, I think it would have sounded way better. And I think it would have fit perfectly into that family of acoustic Green Day songs. You know, like Nimrod's Good Riddance Time of Your Life, Warning's Macy's Day Parade, and Revolution Radio's Ordinary World. Now you're probably thinking, don't you think Green Day ending one of their albums with an acoustic song is a bit overused? Yes, it is. But it would have made the song sound better, so who gives a shit? And that's pretty much all I have to say about the Father of All album. It starts out pretty bad, then it gets kinda good at the middle, and then it just grinds to a halt at the very end. I've heard a lot of people, including Green Day fans, say that this is one of the worst albums they've ever listened to. This might just be me being very forgiving to one of my favorite bands, but to be honest, I don't think Father of All is a terrible album. I will say it is Green Day's worst album. It is kind of bad, but I wouldn't say it's 0 out of 10 like Fantano gave it. If anything, his review kind of made me want to make my own. So why is the album like this? I'm guessing Billy just wanted to try a new direction for this record. And I want to say I'm not against Green Day trying something new. They have been in this game for over 32 years. It's kind of bonkers. And I'm still pretty grateful that they're releasing albums. Though, if anything, I do kind of believe the theory that Father of All was probably rushed. I mean, the short length and the small amount of tracks on the album kind of add to that idea. I've even had a few friends of mine theorize that they probably half-assed this album just to get away from the record label. I'm not sure if that's true, and I can't find any definitive proof of that, but I will say not every band is perfect, and I feel like Green Day just released a dud. I didn't want to come at this album completely attacking and shitting on it and calling it one of the worst things I've ever listened to, because honestly, it's not. Compared to shit like Saint Anger by Metallica, I'll gladly listen to the 26 minutes of Father of All again. But in comparison to the other Green Day albums, it's nowhere near as good. It kinda makes Revolution Radio look like 21st Century Breakdown, and Uno Dos Tres look like Dookie, Nimrod, and Warning. Father of All Motherfuckers is not terrible, but it's also just not that great. I don't want to say this is the end of Green Day or anything like that, especially since some of the other things they've released this year actually sound pretty good. Their cover of Blondie's Dreaming, which they released 3 months after Father of All, actually sounds pretty good. The drums still sound kinda weird and synthy, but I would say that Dreaming cover is way better than most of the tracks on Father of All. So, if anything, that single shows to me at least that they haven't lost their touch. Though if I had to give advice for the next album they make, I'd probably suggest go back to your punk roots, release an album that has a better length than this one, and probably most importantly, Billy, Mike, and especially you, Trey, fix the drums. Please. Trey's already a great drummer. You don't need to stack a whole lot of shit over it to try to make it sound better. It already sounded good to begin with. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed my first ever album review. I've been wanting to try to do reviews on like soundtrack albums and stuff like that for a long time, and I don't know, I just felt like this was the first one I should do. Especially since this is like a new album and it's for a band I really like, and I just wanted to give my opinion on this. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any critiques about how I reviewed things here, maybe leave them in the comments. If you liked the way I chose to review this album, then definitely let me know that too. And here's a bit of a fun fact for this review. After I had finished writing down all the notes for this review, I tried really hard to get the script written down, but I just kept running into writer's block. So I just wrote down an introduction to the review, and then the rest was completely improvised. So yeah, most of this review was unscripted. If you thought that was pretty cool and made for a decent video, then let me know. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. I tried really hard to make sure I recorded all my thoughts I wanted to put into this review. For the band I'm talking about, I tried to use like instrumental tracks for their albums and stuff as background noise. So when I was gonna do this review, I was kind of paranoid that I wouldn't find any instrumentals for this album. But thankfully, someone actually did instrumental covers for every song on this album. So special thanks to SZG Music and Damian Nero for making their instrumental covers for the Father of All album. I'll leave a link to their stuff in the description. Anyways, that's all for now. Let me know if you want to see me do more album reviews, and thanks for watching.